Okay, so I think we're getting up there. So in terms of what I want to accomplish this evening, some introductions. We're also going to go through the syllabus and the reading assignment guide. I think most of you are familiar with Canvas. I'm familiar with a number of your faces, so I know that we've used Canvas in classes previously. But just so you know how we're going to use it in this particular class, we'll do a little tutorial. And then we're going to talk about the critical thinking model, all right? I know, you're just so excited. I feel it, I know. All right. So even though you may know some of each other, I don't know everyone, and so we're going to spend, you know, what, we get to spend 11, 12 weeks together, right? It's going to be a hoot, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So it merits, it's worthy of us to kind of get to know each other, right? So why don't you introduce your name, say your name. Give me some idea of where you are in the program. Some of that I know about you, but some I won't know. So tell me where you are in the program. If you've taken some previous paralegal courses before, okay? Because we're working on that sequencing thing, so sometimes I can get you at the very beginning, or in the middle, or at the very end. So that's helpful to me to kind of know where the scope of the classroom is in terms of background and foundation. And then share something interesting. To the extent you feel comfortable. It doesn't have to be outrageous now, okay? All right, but just, you know, a little bit, okay? Should we do it a little bit back? Should we start over here in the back of the room? Or try to fuck that? Because I just see you bubbling over with anxious.
I was totally going to say somebody else's ideas.
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
I'm Vanessa. This is my second quarter in, so I've already done a lot of the intros, so she's got me at the beginning of the whole thing.
All right.
Something interesting, I've been up since 12:30 this morning, this time because I just flew back in from Jersey and New York this morning.
Oh, wow. Okay. We'll try to keep you awake.
I hope so.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello, Carrie. This is my fourth quarter. I've taken paralegal ethics, and I don't know, this is probably my fifth class, I think. Okay. And I don't even know, just have to work and go to school and try to see my friends and family.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds very boring.
Yeah.
All right, Carrie, what's your last name, ma'am?
Albert.
Albert, okay, great, thank you.
I'm Corinne. This is my second to the last quarter, so I don't know how, whatever, I'm almost done.
Okay.
I don't know.
So I'm taking just about everything. You're almost
done. Yeah, so I've pretty much taken everything except some electives. I just have my internship, e-discovery left, and I'm taking contracts online right now. So I don't know, it's kind of scary now to actually try to look for a job and step out in the real world, but I'm kind of excited.
Okay. All right. Congratulations.
Something interesting. I have 3 dogs.
I know, that's true.
That's not even the part. The fun part is that she wears a cool
And I'm obsessed with shoes.
They're so awesome.
So now we're going to be wanting to look at your shoes.
I know, now I know.
Oh, wait for it.
All right.
She won't get her
I know.
You get used to it.
All right.
So I'm Marilyn.
Yes, ma'am.
Let's see, I believe this is probably my 7th quarter, so I'm with Corinne. We're
Okay.
right on the edge here. I get to start my internship this quarter, so I'm really stoked. What else? Oh, interesting. I can't eat in the dark.
Okay.
Popcorn.
There's a restaurant. All dark, and yeah, you don't know what you're eating. Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. Oh, that's right. So you guys are always on your best behavior, right?
Sure, you do.
All right.
I'm Mary.
Mary.
This is my first class at TCC.
Okay, welcome.
Thank you. So I have not taken a paralegal class before. I transferred a degree here, so I should just have my paralegal classes to take and a math class. So
Did you call me earlier?
horrible at math. Yes, I did.
Oh,
I did.
okay.
And I'm looking at it, and mine looks totally different from everybody else's. So
Yours is hard back
I know.
Beautiful.
actually purchased the book if it doesn't work.
Oh,
So,
well, let's take a look though.
okay, all right. I work for a bankruptcy attorney. I am a legal assistant. So I'm hoping that he will do an internship. So I will let whoever should know, like, who needs to know, and maybe you guys can work with me. And see something interesting. I am the adoption coordinator for the Northwest Herpetology Society. So if any of you would like to foster a rare child, I'm taking after class. I have lots. So if you like ball pythons and bearded dragons, which you all do because I love them. So I know there's others that can. So I'm seeing afterwards. I'm using it to foster. It's it's not a commitment that you have to stick to for a long period of time to try it out. The society provides everything you need, pretty much, and you might have to buy a couple little things or so food. Oh, definitely food, but maybe a lamp or two. So not a big financial commitment, and it's a good way to try an animal if you're interested.
This is like it's always interesting to do, all this interesting background. Okay. So I know there's one from shoes. And now I want to adopt a reptile.
She made her shoes out of one of our reptiles.
So it's
That's it. I'm pretty sure it's just leather.
My name is Bree.
Hi, Bree.
I took ethics 2 quarters ago, and fundamentals. Let's see. Fundamentals. This is my 3rd quarter, and I'm really happy to take the PE classes this quarter. And something interesting, I went to a Sony convention in Vegas for a week, a couple weeks ago, and I left my ID at CTAC in Vegas for a week, so I didn't get to do anything. Good times. So, yeah, long story short, good times. That's me. Yeah.
Reed, tell me your last name again real quick. Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
You'll never
Alright.
I'm Jenny, or Jennifer. This is my gender. You okay?
Oh, no. Don't ever do that. Come right over there. There's a seat right over there. Or right there.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Anyway, Jenny, Jennifer, whatever. This is my 4th quarter, and I've been in fundamentals and ethics class, and I take criminal law classes. It's pretty interesting. I got my first experience this summer working in a law office. Got my name on a very short roster for like doing temp work with people or on vacation or stuff. So that was fun because I wanted to make sure I want to do this. So that was.
And you're back.
I'm back.
Sounds good.
I had fun. Yeah, it was really interesting.
Very nice. So, it makes sense. So what we're doing is just doing an introduction, so you haven't missed much. So just your name, where you are in the program, and some paralegal courses you've taken before, and something interesting. I'm Nicole Murphy.
Somehow started 2 years ago backwards, so I did more upper division than I did basics.
I heard about that. Yeah. You're working on that?
Yeah. Something interesting. I have special needs. That is a full-time job in and of itself.
Yeah.
So yeah, sorry, I was trying to find special needs childcare. It's not easy to
Okay.
say.
Well, no worries. If you have to step out doing things, go ahead. You're welcome. Thank you. All right, let's jump around a little bit. I'll keep you on your toe. Gotcha. All right, Kelly.
You know, it'll be a difficult one though, right?
Kelly Driscoll. This is my 2nd quarter. Taking fundamentals and ethics, writing basics, and then words and stuff. Yeah, something interesting. Learned how to wakeboard this summer. That was really cool. It's painful. But it's fun after a while.
Very cool. Hey, thanks. Hi.
I'm Andrew. I just started the paralegal.
All right, welcome.
I got a bachelor's degree, so I'm just doing a core certificate one.
Okay.
Something interesting. I just taught English for 3 years at
interesting.
My name is Jacqueline. This is my, I guess I would call it my second quarter because I did all the prereqs my first quarter. And something interesting. For the past 6 years, I was a licensed optician, and I have over 200 pairs of glasses. I hate wearing them.
That is interesting. So you just kind of collect them?
It was a collection after 6 years, and it was a daily outfit, match the glasses.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
I have glasses with me, I just hate wearing them.
Okay. So you know where to get the shoes, now you know where to get the glasses. All right, yeah.
My name is Jenna, and this is my last quarter.
All right,
So-
congratulations.
I've taken every class. And something interesting, after I graduate, I'm interviewing with a firm in West Virginia.
Wow. You gonna move to West Virginia? Wow.
Wherever the wind blows me.
All right. Hey, I like it. Okay.
My name's Sagan. This is like my second or third quarter in the program. I'm about halfway done with the paralegal classes. And something interesting, I'm from Florida.
Cool. Thank you.
I'm Tina. This is my third quarter. Had to take care of some of my elective classes and stuff, so this is my second paralegal class.
Okay.
I took paralegal writing before this class. Something interesting, I own 2 machine shops and I work 7 days a week and come here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm Courtney. Nobody knows me. It's my third quarter. Yeah, third quarter. I've taken 106, 149, 50, 51, 55. Health and dealing with stress. Yeah, that was not very helpful with the stress. If anybody's gonna take it. Something interesting. Okay, I'll do something different this morning. I have 3 kids, and my middle one has eosinophilic esophagitis. And while we were in the emergency room over the summer, I got to educate one of the emergency doctors because it was complete. And I've heard of it and tried saying it was all in his head. So that was fun, kind of being able to shame him in front of his colleagues.
Oh, wow.
But, yeah.
And be an advocate for each
To
other.
enjoy
at the same time.
feeling of it, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes, sir.
My name is Yuri. This is my second quarter in the paralegal program. I've taken 3 different courses last quarter. 149, 150, and 154. Something interesting, I also learned how to wakeboard. It's not as easy as it looks, but it's really, really fun. I made a bet with someone that I'd be able to get up by my second or third try.
Yeah.
The loser would have to dye their hair. Yeah, I won.
I was gonna wonder if your hair looked a little different. Oh, very interesting. All right. Hello.
My name is Christy. It's second career for me. I was nurse fifth grade. Started the paralegal stuff this summer, so this is technically my second, whatever. Something interesting, well, maybe not interesting to you, but I just did this DNA thing. A friend of mine, I got me to Ancestry.com, and I know that there's a lot of dark-skinned, dark-eyed people in my family, and apparently I'm Greek and Italian. I'm mostly Irish, that's what we all thought we were. But I guess there were Greek and Italian as well. So I'm just shocked on this.
My name's Sonia. I don't really know where I'm at in the program. I'm working towards my limited legal license. And I work full-time plus.
Thanks, Sonia.
I'm Deb. This is my second quarter.
I'm sorry, ma'am, I missed your name?
Deborah.
Deborah, okay. All right, thank you.
My second quarter in the program, I finished my literature degree set. Decided to change my education and I'm going to grow.
Oh, okay, right on.
I own a farm, so.
Nice. All right.
My name is Jay.
Jay?
This is my first class in the legal field, just want to see if I'm interested in something.
Okay.
Interesting fact, I have summited Mount Canyon.
Oh, wow.
I'm Barbara. I'm not in the program. I'm observing, and I've got over 20 years of experience as a guardian ad litem with kids of juvenile court.
Thank you. Ma'am, I think there's a, you see that today here? All right. All right. Yes, ma'am.
I'm Jenny.
Jenny.
Burns.
Okay.
And in my third quarter, I had a number of credits transferring that covered the non-paralegal classes.
And so is this your first paralegal course then?
Oh, no.
I'm sorry.
No, I've been taking a paralegal class. This is my third quarter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And something interesting, I play a little bit.
Oh, all right. John?
Yeah, I'm John. This is my fourth quarter in the program. Next quarter should be my last, or it will be my last.
That's right, I like that language.
And something interesting is when I'm done here, before I start like looking for a job and stuff and being responsible, I'm actually going to go out of the country for a month and travel around Thailand. And I'm really nervous because I've never been abroad before, and I'm going by myself.
Wow. Yeah, that is interesting. So it's a postcard.
Hi, I'm Susan Faulkner, and I've been in the program 14 minutes now.
All right, well, welcome.
This is my first class.
Okay.
I've been an alcohol and drug counselor in Alaska for 20 years.
Okay. Cool, thanks, welcome. Hello.
I'm Ellie Klaus McGann.
I'm sorry, can I get your last name again?
Klaus McGann, it's hyphenated.
Okay, cool,
And
thank you.
I'm like Susan, 14 minutes into the program. This is my first class, and I'm looking to kind of switch careers. I'm a math educational consultant, and I've been working with the Tacoma School District for many, many years, and now I want to change direction.
All right, thank you, welcome. Yes, ma'am?
I'm Patricia Wyatt, and this is my first class here at TCC as well. I work as a legal assistant in Bremerton for about 7 years now, and I am also looking into the LC program.
Oh, cool.
And interesting, I scrapbook, so that means I like to play glue and glitter.
All right.
I'm Dylan Hampton. This is my second quarter in the paralegal program, but I have my associate's degree. And something interesting about me is I love to play tennis in my free time.
All right, cool.
My name is Niku. My name is Niku, and I'm about halfway done with the paralegal program. And something interesting, I learned how to change diapers this summer.
Well, congratulations. I mean, well, think about it. Is there a class on changing diapers? You know, the baby comes and then, and then you're like, wow, what do I do? So, all right. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Jabberate Moore.
Okay.
And this is my second quarter. I'm taking one class, and this is my second one.
Okay.
It's absolutely nothing interesting about me. I'm there for 6 years, but I know my
You have 6 kids?
That's interesting.
God, that's a lot of kids. Oh, 6 kids. That's so incredible. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. Those who know me know why I'm jesting with her. All right, well, thank you so much for indulging with those introductions, but we're not quite done. Were you gonna let you get off the hook? No. Come on.
My name's Ariel. This is my third quarter. I picked up prerequisites first, and the
last quarter I did the writing fundamentals.
Okay.
So this will be my first quarter getting into about 3 paralegal classes.
Okay.
Something interesting, I graduated from corrections at Pierce, but I just decided to go to paralegal family law.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool. Well, welcome. Welcome, everyone. All right, so my name is Andrea Jarman. I have been here at TCC. This is the beginning of my 3rd year. I came to TCC from the Attorney General's office, where I practice as an Assistant Attorney General in their Medicaid Fraud Control Unit, and in their Sexually Violent Predator Unit, and in their L&I unit. Prior to that, I prosecuted for the City of Auburn and for the City of Seattle. I went to school here in Washington, for undergrad and law school, went to the UW in Seattle. As I told you this morning, I had all these grand plans about going out of state, but then I realized I don't know anybody. I decided to stay right here. It was a great experience because I also got to be a teaching fellow in their legal writing program. Let's see. In addition to teaching here, I've also taught at Green River Community College in their business division, teaching their introduction to law courses here in business law. So that's a little bit about my background. I heard a couple of you mention the LLT program, the Limited Legal License Technician. I am so thrilled about this program, I'm so excited about it. And just to give you a little nugget here about the closeness that TCC will have to this program, the Washington State Bar Association is governed by what's referred to as a Board of Governors. And attorneys from each district are elected to represent the lawyers in the legal community for that particular district. So I was recently elected to District 8. And one of those jobs that you have as being a Board of Governors is you are assigned to various boards and committees. And one of my boards is going to be as a liaison to the LLT board. So we will have inside info. Right? Rough translation, all right? All right, so thanks for those introductions. We're gonna spend some time together. I think it's worthy for us to sort of, get a little bit of background about each other. And as you can see, it's all fascinating, right? The other thing is that asking you questions about the courses that you've taken previously kind of helps me be able to understand and filter what sort of foundation and context I'll need to lay. I'll tell you, we hear loud and clear some of the critiques about the sequencing, and that is something that we're working on. And so that's why this is a 100 level course. But you hear people saying, I'm getting ready to graduate, I just started, I've been in 15 minutes. So that is one of the things that we're working on, okay? All right, so that's our intros. Ready to talk about what this class is about? Let's do it. All right. So I'm going to hand you a hard copy of the syllabus. And then we'll also take a look at our Canvas course site. Now, what I did is I printed 31 copies. So I think we have enough. Okay? But if we don't, then I'll just ask you to indulge one another and share. Okay?
How would you like to be addressed? How would you like to be addressed?
Well, you can call me Andrea. I'm totally fine with that. Or Professor Jarman, but I'm fine with either of those. I think sometimes students are comfortable saying Professor Jarman. I think the reality is that to the extent that I like to parody the workplace, you're going to be calling people by their first names. When I worked for the Attorney General's office, we called him Rob, because that was the AG who was there at the time. So I think that it's appropriate for you. That's more than appropriate, okay? Thank you. But like I said, you can also use Professor Jarman. All right, does everyone have a copy? We're good? All right, good. All right, that's the first good sign. You got enough copies on the first day, all right? All right, now I'm gonna also hand back the reading and assignment guide, because we're kind of talk about these in tandem with one another, okay? And while those are going back, I'm going to flip on our screen here as well. My guess is that these lights are kind of all or nothing. I'm gonna play with it just a little bit, but if you can't make it, then at least you do have the hard copy if you don't want to. What do you think? Is that a little helpful? Okay, so I don't think we can go too much darker. That's it. Okay. Yeah, I was gonna do that. No, I can make sure. No, thank you. And listen, don't let me forget, okay? All right, so my contact information is at the top of the syllabus here, all right? Oh, need more of those. How many more? Oh, perfect. Okay, we're good. Yeah. Sounds like you're that's our good karma we had going on. All right. So my contact information is at the top here. A. Jarman, please use that to reach me. You have my office number there, as well as my cell number. I don't hesitate to give up my cell number. You've heard my background. You can't call me. I know people. We'll find you. We moved buildings. So we're now in building 13. Okay. Have you guys ventured over to the new building yet? No. It's really quite lovely. My favorite thing about it is that there are all these nice little places for students to sit down and chat and have coffee while you talk about how awesome your next class is going to be. Right? Okay. So you have input on what your office is. Not quite, but I'm home maintenance, so it's all right. But it's pretty. Okay. Office hours. Mondays 11 to 2, with the exception of the second Monday of every month. Okay, because we have some faculty stuff that we do on those days, all right? So Mondays from 11 to 2, and then Tuesdays and Thursdays from 10 to 11:30. But then if those times don't work for you, just email me and we can set something else up, okay? Particularly because we're an evening class, all right? So I put that in there knowing that we'll probably have to, you'll probably have to connect with me outside of those hours, okay? All right, let's see. Our credit course description. So this is just your boilerplate information about what this class is about. We read it on the website. Hopefully you read it before you registered for the class, right? It was enticing. You're like, oh yeah, I gotta take this. Whatever, okay. So this course is designed to introduce students to the foundations of civil law, including substantive issues, contracts, domestic relations, wills, estates, probates, torts, personal injury, and legal profession. So bottom line is that this course kind of operates like a survey course, right? So civil law is a really big topic, okay? And what we're gonna do is we're gonna just cover the general themes and concepts under a few select areas of civil law, okay? Let's see, the course overview. That's my little mantra in there to you about why I take the approach I take with these courses in terms of really honing in on legal principles and application exercises, because I really want you to understand and appreciate what it is that you have come to this institution to acquire. And that is some immediate, tangible skills that will allow you to go into the workplace and gain employment as a paralegal. Okay? And so I encourage you to take a look at the definitions that are provided for what a paralegal or a legal assistant is. I think sometimes we have a little bit of a misunderstanding about what we do as paralegals or what you have the potential to do. So look at page 2. Let's look at the second definition that's there. Can I get someone to read this definition for me? I'm a speed reader. It takes me so much effort to read slow. All right, you ready? Oh, I got it right here. Thank you, ma'am.
The italicized?
Yes, ma'am.
A paralegal is a person qualified through education, training, and work experience to perform substantive legal work that requires knowledge of legal concepts and is customary but not exclusively performed by a lawyer. This person may be retained or employed by a lawyer, law firm, governmental agency, or other entity, or may be authorized by administrative, statutory, or court authority to perform this work. Substantive works shall mean work requiring recognition, education, organization, analyses, and communication of relevant facts and legal concepts.
Pretty heavy. What you doing? What are you doing? What did you say?
Substantive legal work.
Substantive legal work. That means interpreting legal information, case law, right? Applying that to facts and so forth. Now, the nature, scope, and extent of this is going to vary depending upon what your position is and where you're employed at, right? But for example, paralegals in the AG's office, you actually even go to court and do mediation. Before we even get a file in the L&I unit, you've already tried to negotiate the case. You've done research on that particular issue. And you've drafted memos and you've went back and forth between counsel. Okay? So I just want to emphasize that part of what we'll do is actually embrace those concepts and, you know, it can be more than memorization, but actually application. And that will stick with you longer. All right, let's see. Prerequisites. I'm going to assume you're here if you meet the prerequisites, okay? Degree learning outcomes. So I'm going to talk about the next three things kind of loop together, right? So for every single degree that you get at TCC, basically this is indicating that these are the things that we are expecting a student to have acquired and know, okay? For any degree. Under that is your program degree. So for the paralegal degree, here are the things that we expect you to have acquired by way of skills and knowledge, okay? Of particular relevancy for us are the course objectives. So those are the things that we're going to work on in this particular course. And hopefully in our beautiful rule, all these things sort of aligned and there's a nice connection back up to the top, all right? So what are we going to do? At the successful completion of this course, the student should be able to perform the following tasks. Describe the structure of the judicial system. We'll talk about that. Critique the effect of judicial law on the court system. Ooh, doesn't that sound interesting? Okay, whatever. Develop research skills on judicial opinions and court rules. Apply judicial opinions and court rules to civil issues. And if none of this makes sense to you, don't worry. It's just telling you, here's what we're gonna learn, okay? Explain the various types of torts, intentional torts, negligence, strict liability. So would it be intentional if I kick Courtney right now, or would that be negligence, you know? Describe the fundamental principles of the marital and parent-child relationships. Create documents filed with the court in divorce action. Identify the elements of contract formation. Draft a valid contract. Explain the basic substantive law of wills and estates. And then apply general principles of each area in online discussions. That's a lot, right? I told you it's a survey course though, okay? So we're gonna cover a lot, but we're gonna talk about in terms of general themes and concepts, okay? And I wanna really emphasize that the expectation is not gonna be that you memorize all these areas of law, all right? We're gonna talk about the themes, and then we're gonna have exercises where you apply those legal concepts and things to various fact patterns and scenarios. And so the idea is that you have enough information that you can read a fact pattern and say, wait a minute, okay, this sounds like it might be a tort. And it might be this particular type of tort. And now that I know that, now I can go back and look at my list of various types of torts and see which line up and meet those elements or those definitions, okay? All right, your textbook. Mine's kind of beat up. I've had it for a while. But this is my book here. Did everybody have the book? Okay, don't worry if you don't have it just yet. All right, no. Is it coming? All right, so here's what I'm gonna tell you. I think you should have the book. You have, because there are cases and things like that in here within the chapters that you're gonna have to read. But at the same time, if you don't have it right away, it's not a detriment to you because you'll see that I'm gonna give you PowerPoint slides for our lectures, okay? And the bulk of what we're covering, the highlights and significant things are gonna be in the PowerPoint. Having said that though, the PowerPoints are not a substitute for your independent reading though. Okay? All right, let's see. I'm flipping over now to page 4. Oh, well, okay. So it starts on page 2, your supplemental materials. Where I supplement information for you, I'll post it on the Canvas site. I'll show you where, okay? Paralegal program Canvas site, is everyone familiar with this site? Everyone have access? If you do not, okay, all right. Thank you.
3 minutes, come on.
Okay, so do not worry. You have to do nothing except when you get the invitation, just accept it, okay? I am so proud of this site. You remember where it started out. We really beefed it up. And basically the site is hopefully your one-stop shop for the information that you need about your program. Advising information, job postings, internship postings, and things like that, okay? Writing resources, citation references, things like that, okay? All right. So like I said, if you don't have access, don't worry. I'm going to cross-reference the list with the members on the site, and I'll send you an invitation. All right, let's see. Technology and support. Everyone knows? Raise your hand if you know what a computer is. Raise your hand if you know how to touch the keyboard on the computer. Okay, look, you guys think it's okay. This is so funny. So I was at a conference last week. This is CLE with attorneys. And the guy was talking about one of the first presentations was on cyberbullying, okay? And he was, and I really like how they did it because they allowed children to come in and be a part of this particular part of the presentation. Because they were talking about, you know, texting and, you know, images and things like that or whatever. So it's really informative for them. And so he asked this phrase about anybody use Snapchat, and Instagram, and all this, right? And so all the young people's hands go right up, and half of the attorneys like, what's Snapchat? You hear this? So I don't take it for granted that we're at different levels, okay? So all this is saying is that if you need some assistance, touch base with me, okay? We have a great, great support staff, great people over in Information Commons, all right, so we can get you connected, all right? Let's see, our overview of course structure and assignments. So I'm looking at the bottom of page 4, top of page 5. Discussion post assignments. There'll be a prompt or question to respond to, oftentimes generated in class or from the reading, okay? Case briefing assignments, we'll do 3 of those. It says 5 there, I think that's a typo. Is that a typo or is it 5? No, it's 5. Nope, it's 3. Sorry, that's a typo. Cross that out, it should be 3.
You might have a typo on the front page too, it says on here that was the exception of the first Monday, you said the second Monday.
Oh, is it the second or the first Monday? No, is it the first Monday?
It's the second Monday at 2:30.
It's the second Monday. So take a note of that, okay? So is it with the exception of the second Monday? On the bottom of page 1. So this is for the office hours. Are you okay with this? So everybody making a correction right now? So the second Monday, yeah. All right, with the exception of the second Monday. But hey, if you're coming to see me on a regular basis anyway, you know, hint, 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 you know, it's not gonna be a problem for you. All right, so 3 case briefings. So cross the 5 out, make it 3. Applying the concept exercises, I kind of talked to you about a little bit about that, not just theory. You know, we're gonna actually apply, have some exercises where we work on that. Some quizzes, just to make sure you're understanding the material and keeping up with the reading. Did I lose anyone? You ladies okay?
No, so that 5 is a also, right?
Courtney, keep the shot of being. Okay. All right, classroom participation. We only meet once a week, so it's gonna be really important that you come. But like I said, sometimes things happen. You just really can't fight that traffic. Somebody's sick. You're not feeling well. Work was just rough that day. Okay, so I get it. If that life happens, and so that's why we're gonna try to be recording the lectures and uploading them. Okay. All right, any questions so far? All right, Canvas site and overview. All right, let's go to take a look at this Canvas real quick here. All right. So your Canvas course site is now open and published. When you first come onto our course, this is the very first page you will see. This is always the first page you will see, okay? Depending upon which course you're in, some instructors do it differently where every single week they change the page and it shows you what you need for that week, whatever, right? I'm not gonna do it that way, okay? So this is a stagnant first page, all right? So you're always gonna see the office hours, contact information, our class, links to the reading assignment guide and syllabus, all right? But in case you forget Well, where do I go for that week? I put this nice little color box here. You see, you lost? Looking for this week's reading? Need to know what's due.
Yes.
Go to modules and select the week you need. You like it? Okay, fine. All right. So we're gonna go. All right, but we'll get to that in just a moment. So if you click on syllabus, you'll be able to find the same documents that I just gave to you. I tried them, wherever it's referenced, I tried to give you a link to it there as well, all right? So you can click on that and get the syllabus, you can click on that and get to the reading assignment guide, all right? And there is basically a reiteration of some of the information that I've already talked about in class. The reading and assignment guide, so let me tell you how you're gonna use this document, okay? I'm not psychic, although I wish I was, and I would certainly play the lottery, but I'm not. But to the reasonable extent that I can, I projected for you how I anticipate we're going to progress through the quarter. Because I think you kind of like to have an idea, okay, well, what are we reading when and so forth. So sometimes some instructors will give you 1 week at a time or 2 weeks at a time. I'm just going to throw it all out there for you, okay? So that's your hard copy document, all right? So you have a general roadmap, okay? Occasionally, however, depending upon our discussion, because y'all look like y'all gonna be quite the lovely bunch here, we might spend a little time on a certain legal concept that really, generates a lot of interest and discussion. Okay? In that instance, so that could be a reason, or we could just need to spend some extra time because the concept is just a little bit more difficult than the other things, right? So it may be necessary for us to adjust the due dates. Okay? Now, if you can honor and make the original due date, then all means, hey, great for you, put it in there, all right? But if you can't, on occasion, what I'm gonna do is modify the deadline, not to accelerate it, but to put it back a little bit to give other people time to get it in, all right? Where that happens, on the occasions where we do that, then where you're gonna find those updates is not gonna be in the hard copy document, but it's gonna be on Canvas, okay? So with that in mind, if you go to modules, here's how you'll see this is set up. Weekly reading, assignments, and summaries, okay? So it's always gonna be by the week 1, week 2, whatever, right? The gray text means you can't see it. I can see it, but you can't see it because I haven't opened it yet. But the green you can see. I'm gonna click on that now for week 1. So what you'll see is our week right here, information you have, you with me? And then where I give you PowerPoints or summaries of the lecture, whatever, you can come here and get that information as well. And then if I've made changes, what I'll do is I'll put it in red, modifications to schedule above. Okay, and it'll be noted there. Is that okay with everyone? Is that clear? Yeah. All right. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Is the listen up there, is that where you're going to have the recorded lecture?
And that's right, yes ma'am, and that's also where you'll find the recorded lecture. Good question, yes. Okay, all right. Later missing work. I feel like a fraud to say this. I won't say, just try to get your work in on time. You know me, I'm a sucker, I'm gonna take it, but just please try to honor the deadlines. I probably shouldn't even say that, I shouldn't say that, I'm not gonna take it. It's a serious face. Don't mess with me. All right, and we got to record it. Okay. Assignments and distribution of point value. We have that information there in terms of how much each assignment is going to be valued at, okay? All right, I'm flipping the page here. Your grading standards, that's for your reading. Incompletes. My suggestion here is that you just ignore this. An incomplete contemplates the idea that you're not going to actually progress successfully through the quarter, you're going to fall behind, and this is a mechanism by which you can sort of get an extension, but we don't even want to go there, but I have to get the information to you, so just ignore it. Okay? All right, academic dishonesty. Very uncomfortable subject. The bottom line is that if you engage in this sort of behavior, you really are you're compromising your ability to do what you're gonna have to do in the workplace, okay? This is the place to learn. This is the place to make those mistakes. This is the place to look silly and foolish and get some feedback in a safe, comfortable environment without it being, you know, something that's gonna affect your pay or your job, okay? So let's practice and learn here, all right? That's all I'm gonna say about that. Accommodation students with special needs. I was remiss in that I didn't talk about this in this morning's class. I don't think I talked about it. So I'm going to come back to this on Wednesday. But what I want you to know is that in order for you to invoke your right to accommodations, you have to put the place on notice. So you have to let them know. All right? That's how you invoke your right. So if you need accommodations, you gotta let us know. There is the Access Service office located in Building 7, and then they'll get the paperwork to us, and then we can, you know, do what we can to provide you with any additional or special support you need. Okay? So make sure you access that. There are lots of resources here for you. Okay? So avail yourselves to them. Email policy. We talked about that. Email me directly, please. Include a subject line. As much as possible, I want, you're smiling. No, as much as possible, I want you to parody the workplace, all right? When you send the email out in the workplace, it's not gonna have an empty subject line. You're gonna say Harris motion, right? Harris motion to continue, right? Or, yes?
Does Canvas let you put a subject now?
I think it does, but I don't really like Canvas.
Yeah.
So just email me directly. And like I said, you got multiple means. You can email me at Tacoma CC. You can call my office. You can call my cell. You can text me. We can web stuff. You know what I'm saying? We can Snapchat. You know what I'm saying? It's late now. We started at 8:30 this morning. I start talking crazy. All right. And there are my office hours again. First Monday of each month. Yeah, I should say second Monday. Second Monday. Okay. Second Monday. All right. And then, of course, again, if those dates and times don't work for you, let's talk. Grievance procedures. If you have questions or concerns about the class, about me, about a peer, come see me first. Respect the chain of command, okay? This is exactly what you're going to do in the workplace. You're going to go directly to your immediate supervisor first, okay? If we can't work out a resolution, then we'll send you to the program chair, Jennifer Sorensen, and if they can't work out a resolution, then she'll be able to direct you to the next steps, okay? E2 campus safety, you guys already signed up for the alerts. Some of you may not be. Very, very cool thing here. You sign up for their instructions. Yes. There are instructions here as to how to do it. If campus is closed for an emergency or if there's some sort of, you know, important notification, you can get this via email or on your phone, via text or something like that. So it's a really, really great resource. I would encourage you all to make use of that, particularly with our winter coming and things like that, you know, if we have some snow. I used to pray for snow when I went to UW until I realized they don't shut down for anything. All right, let's see, caveats. I reserve the right to make changes. My contract. Final thoughts. If you have questions, let me know. Okay? All right. Any questions so far? Let's talk about that question thing. You know what we're going to do. You've been with me before. We did it this morning. All right, so. Sonia. Do you watch any legal shows, Sonia? What do you watch? I like Judge Judy been around for a long time. All right, Judge Judy. Okay, but you know, Judge Judy doesn't follow any kind of proper court etiquette. I'm just going to tell you right now. That should not be your law. Yes. Yeah, no. All right. Anybody else? Legal shows? Janet. Legal show?
I watch NCIS.
NCIS? Okay. Some courtroom stuff. Corinne? Courtroom staff?
Oh, Law and Order.
Law and Order.
Oh,
Okay, all right.
Divorce court.
Divorce court, okay.
Franklin and Bath.
Boston Legal.
Franklin and Bath. I love it.
All right.
Good one.
What's that new TV show that's coming out that I heard is good? What is that? It's something about How to Get Away with Murder that's coming out. I heard that's
Yeah.
gonna be good.
There's murder in first.
All right, so you said I don't watch TV.
No, How to Get Away with Murder.
All right, that's all right. Okay. All right. All right, so let's just make our scenario up then. We're gonna make up a lot of stuff in this class, okay? So don't worry. All right, so tell me your name again, ma'am. Ellie. Ellie, look, can you play the lawyer for us? Can you be a lawyer for us? You don't have to do anything. Okay. We're just gonna call you a lawyer. We only by the end of this class, you'll know they don't do anything anyway because you do all the work, right? So you're just gonna sit there, just like real life. Yeah. All right. So Ellie, except for right now, you can do a little bit. So we're in court, right? Okay. Ma'am, what's your name? Carrie. Carrie, you're the witness. Okay. And you're Ellie's witness, all right? So if I call her. If we're saying that Carrie, that Carrie is Ellie's witness. Why did I do that? Carrie is Ellie's witness. Okay. What are we on? Do they know? In terms of questioning? What we call that? Cross-examination. No, this is her. It's her witness. It's her witness.
Well, I know that you can't ask leading questions.
You're right. That's right, ma'am. Good job. Direct examination. So this is counsel's test questioning of their own witness that they've named and identified in their case, all right? We okay with that? Everybody with me? All right. So you're testifying. And right now, Yuri? All right. So Yuri, you're opposing counsel. You are questioning this witness. It's her witness that she called, right? Okay. But now she's done with her direct examination, and now you are questioning. What are we going to call this? Cross. All right. And you're watching this testimony. You're the client here, okay? All right. You're watching this testimony. You're thinking, oh my God, this is looking really bad. Oh my goodness, make it stop. Should she even be asking that question right now? You know, right? What do you want to do? What do you want your attorney to do for you? That's right. Yes. You want the attorney to object. Why do you want the attorney to object?
So that the line of questioning won't go forward.
So it won't go forward because we want it to stop and like right now, right? Okay. Why do you think it's significant? Why am I placing so much emphasis on the necessity of invoking that objection to make it stop? Preserving my what? Preserving my, what does that mean? Tell us what that means when we say preserving my ability for an appeal.
You don't object, can't later go to the prejudice.
All right, so let me tell you what's gonna happen. So we're gonna have this trial, right? And he's gonna ask us, object. She's gonna object, okay? And then the judge is gonna make a ruling, okay, as to whether or not indeed it's appropriate to stop this line of questioning. If the judge agrees, what's his ruling going to be? Sustained, right? If the judge disagrees, because he thinks, well, no, this is an appropriate line of questioning, what's the ruling going to be? Overruled, right? And effectively, now what we've just done is irrespective of the outcome of the case, right? Let's say we don't like the outcome, and we want to now take it to a higher court. We want to appeal. Now what we've done is we've preserved and protected the record. So now, when we go and knock on that higher court's door and say, we want you to look at what happened, because it was wrong. It was just wrong. All right? When you say, and the person said, well, did you tell the court down there? I was like, yeah, I told them it was wrong. I objected. Right? Okay? But that's the value of it, right? Preserving the record. Here, when you're asking questions in class, I want you to treat it not like you're preserving the record, right, our appeal record, but you're preserving your academic integrity, your academic right to understand. You understand? Does that make sense? So if we're having a discussion or a conversation in class and you're confused or you have no idea what I just said because I can get on a hot roll, you gotta raise your objection. Right? You with me? All right. We talked about that, we did that, we did that. You guys ready to talk about critical thinking?
Yes.
But let's take a break first. Is that okay? So let me look at this clock here. I think this, here's the thing. I think this is a good place to break because the critical thinking discussion is going to take us a little bit of time. So it's, my computer says 6:56. What do you guys say we break till 7:10? Is that okay? We're okay with that? And then we'll see how we get, and maybe I might be able to let you go a little bit early, okay? But no, I'm not gonna make any promises.
I like that one.
But you like that one? All right, okay. It seems like what? A lot of.
Yeah, I would go home and do it tonight.
And we ordered 3 different books, and 2 are here, and I have a notice to go pick up the 3rd. And they're about 25%.
There probably is. The library is right there. The walk on library is right
Sorry.
Cool, yeah, like lots of graded.
I've yet to find a classroom where they had a functioning this.
Let me go.
I'm very curious to see if it actually works.
And we can talk about it more.
I look at my screen. I think it might be worth a hallelujah. Nothing. Wait, hold on.
Did you turn it on?
Yes. See, that thing is always missing.
That's usually my boss first.
Can I look at your book, Professor German?
Oh yeah, please do.
So when you get to module,
Yeah. It's not going to look the same. I see a lot more because there are things that I get to hide from you. Does it make sense? Yeah. And I'll show it again if you want. Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
So that's why I'm saying how the things that you saw that were in gray, you can't see.
No, I didn't see
But
that.
yeah, no, that's right.
Okay.
You can't see it. If it's in gray, what was in gray on the screen, that means it's something that you cannot see because it's stuff that I have that I haven't opened to you yet.
Okay. On there, it shows like it's. Are you using? Okay, so that's not what you're doing.
Yeah. Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, I was just wondering if there's a, kind of just scanned over what's in from my classes, but I'm kind of confused. Do I need a workbook or a disc that comes in the books or
So it depends. I don't know what the other classes are. So
for
for this one, no, you just need this. You just
I
yep.
think that's the one I got.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
You're fine. Is there a vending machine in this building? It is? Okay. Do you know if it takes $5 bills? Oh, awesome. Okay. I feel like it's hot. It's hot in here. I was sick the last 3 days. I had a fever. No, I'm not the fever, but I had a fever, so I have to be careful because it's hot. Whose ringtone is that? I just really want to know.
It's mine. It's my ringtone.
Oh, really?
You're not the farm person.
My alarm is going off for some reason.
Time to get up.
All right. My daughter says I can't talk because I have Queen We Are the Champions as my ringtone right now.
You're right, you can.
I get it.
Has that gone off in court yet?
No, thank you.
Like 500. That's ridiculous, first of all. Secondly, I think 100 is a lot.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I don't know anything about this boy does hire me, but I kind of quit. I don't know, he's just, and now I'm afraid to graduate with them. Pick those kids over and then I need something else. And so it's like 4 people. You know?
Oh, they won. They won. Yeah, when we did our first one, because we
Was that summer? I was thinking that was spring. Yeah.
I was in that same class. I was there my first week. Every night they were looking out the window. Is it time to go yet?
Yes.
It's time to go.
And Pat, right?
Yeah, she taught me out with covering going out there.
I know. Trust me.
Have all those bad conversations.
Last day.
I mean, a little bit.
Not today. She made today. There's a class, it'll probably be till 8. So she'll just move forward.
When you read the condition, they'll say.
But usually when it's a person
Yeah, a lot of bands I'll read. I order my husband. I think, that's very nice.
I have to get up for work.
I mean, a lot of them don't do, they're still, some of them are still in there. Now, if you have Amazon Prime, it's appreciated. And then if you order, they come out the individual people.
But I already got out.
What other classes? I thought you were trying to get over there. Yeah, that's, it came out the gate. My camera's like, so I signed up for 3 classes.
You okay? Oh, do I need to do it this way? I don't know. Are y'all okay? Are you guys okay?
Yeah, I'm gonna do that. Right now. All my training. Nothing.
Oh, it's not too early, because you know what, we have to do this, do we do the planning sheet?
I haven't gone over it.
Sure, you do.
I have it typed out.
You do, well, why don't you just email it to me, and then that way I can already take a look at it.
Because I had it signed by.
Okay.
Because I had 2 classes with transferred from SBU.
Yes.
That she was approving.
Yes.
And so I have those, so she like signed off on everything. I didn't know if I should.
So the courses, yes, but from your graduation stuff, is just to look at all the.
Yeah. But she like signed all the, she signed all the paperwork.
Not the graduation stuff.
Like her section.
The graduation one?
I have a whole packet that I can scan and email to you. I just gave her a packet of information and she signed her.
You're right. On my doorstep. You mentioned this morning that the bookstore would have the blue book, and I went in tonight and they had no blue.
The bookstore doesn't know what the blue book is?
It's like, oh, it was this, yeah. I know it. Of course, anybody else that showed up on the Friday night.
Baby steps, we have some work to do, baby steps.
I figured I'd go like whatever, like bigger.
Hours that he have the bookstore really got.
I know so like I'm taking that.
Yeah, I still have a spot quarter. What I might still have a quarter.
how do you make it fun? Especially when two of them were online and open.
I probably used to have it. I
I've played around and just like to see what's out there. I haven't read much.
Yeah.
It depends on what it is. So that
It was like a read.
so no, it's not different. Do you have it already set up?
Because I'm getting weird. That's what I did.
So if you look on the paralegal career site, we go down to the module that talks about internship. There's an authorization checklist, and it lists the classes that you have taken. Or teaching roles. So you have taken those listed classes, and then you also need to have your internship site set up as well. What now?
Contract law.
Oh my God.
ADR here, because she's the, and I got,
So you can also, you can work for free. But in terms of getting, but in terms of getting credit, you actually have to be enrolled in the class. Credit in the insurance component. So outside of getting credit for it, then it's volunteer. Our terms are just, so it's semantics. So outside of the class, it would be volunteer. If you're actually enrolled in the course and getting credit, then it's called
positive attitude.
yeah, so you can be, so like I said, free labor, you can volunteer, you can volunteer, and that's actually very good. But hey, it's free labor, but at the same time, it's invaluable experience for a person who's trying to get exposure to the legal field.
That's what you just go, man, I think that would help.
There are lots of places that you can intern, and if you're having difficulty, come see us. We know people, lots of people, and we'll pull it, We'll if we have to, we'll get it done. Alright. You just did it today, as a matter of fact. Remember that favor you did for me? Yeah. You need an internship.
So if you don't want to be an architect somewhere else,
Really? You alright?
Yeah.
It is hot.
Oh no, I'm perfectly fine.
So the only thing is not like it's
So she made she literally went out to the publisher and going like, oh,
Awesome.
like taking out stuff from there, paying the copyright and all that stuff, and she's like, I'm gonna literally like scratch my head. And I'm just like,
yeah.
And so it depends on how you use Amazon.
All right, you guys ready to get started again? All right. So I want to spend the remainder of our class time talking to you a little bit about the idea of critical thinking. And in particular, I'm introducing what we refer to as this critical thinking model. But I want to begin by asking you, how many of you have had a course or a class or a training wherein you were told at the onset, hey, we're going to learn critical thinking here. Or critical thinking is going to be something that we're going to explore. Raise your hand. Awesome. Oh, very good. Okay. Okay. So, give me some terminology, some words, something that we can use to describe what do we mean when we say critical thinking.
Building intellectual.
Okay. Building and connecting two ideas together. Okay, what else?
Unemotional.
Unemotional?
Like, you know, I mean, you're supposed to stay clear.
Questioning?
Questioning.
Challenging.
Logic.
Rational solutions to problems.
Rational solutions to problems. Yes, ma'am.
Analyzing?
Analyzing. Okay. What? Unbiased? Very good. Okay.
Well, if you want to think critically, you got to research and know all the elements from all sides.
All the elements. Okay. Having all the elements. What else?
Comparing.
Okay, comparing. Huh?
Comparing ideas, concepts,
Comparing ideas, concepts, solutions. Okay. What else? Is it? Yes, yes, yes. Which one of these people is thinking critically? What do you think?
Definitely the girl in the far left.
Definitely from the far left. Gazing off into you have that look of profound contemplation. Right? Okay.
It all looks like a brainstorm.
They all look like they're brainstorming. Okay. So, all right. So, any ideas from these pictures about what other sort of terms we could use to describe critical thinking?
thoughtful.
Thoughtful. Okay.
Visualizing.
Visualizing. Visualizing. Visualizing. Okay, thoughtful. All right. Contemplating. Anything else? Okay, so are you wondering why would we be talking about critical thinking in the context of a survey course about civil law?
There's a lot that goes into civil law.
Okay.
There's a lot of information to absorb and learn about.
A lot of information to observe and learn about. Okay. You know the answer to what other people are thinking, okay?
And there's a fairness implied. If coming at it emotionally or messed up.
Fairness, all right. Now, do we care about fairness in the law, really? Just saying.
Implied.
Just kidding. Just kidding. All right. What else? All right. What What else? Why would we be talking about, why is that? Or do you think it's important that we engage in critical thinking?
Maybe different interpretations.
Ah, interpretations. Because what do we get to interpret in the legal field?
The law.
Law, which could be what? And the law could be based upon what? I heard one. Huh? Cases. It could be what else? RCW, so statutes. Constitution. All right. And then we're interpreting these legal sources, and we're applying them to what?
To our situation, I think.
To a situation, to some sort of facts, right? So then, what do you think about this idea then of the importance of critical thinking when we're interpreting all these different sources to a set of facts? And then we want to account for the emotional and the bias. And here we said two ideas, the limitation of ideas. All right? Let's keep going with this. So when we say critical thinking, you guys have some, I really like our jumping off point, because when I would ask this question before, I get these stock answers like, well, it means thinking differently, or it means thinking outside the box. You ever hear that? Oh, we need to think outside the box, right? And then my classic response is, well, where's the damn box? And I can't fit in it. You know, so this is really, really good, okay? All right, so the idea here is that we're gonna kind of think about the way we think and give it some specific concrete terms, okay? And the reason why that's important is because when you think about it, we got a recipe for everything, right? If I wanted to make a sweet potato pie, you guys like pie? Sweet potato pie? All right, I like sweet potato pie, although I'm trying to stay away from it now. But nonetheless, if I don't know how to make it though, right? But if I wanted to know how to, I could Google a recipe, right? All right. Or go to Excel. All right. Or if I wanted the quick way, I could go to Excel, right? But look. But if I didn't know how to get to Excel, I could Google what? A map, some sort of directions or instructions, right? Let's see. Somebody had a nursing background.
Over there.
Who's that? Ah, nursing background, right? What do? You have some symptoms, right? And then you make a diagnosis. So you kind of like a little formula, right? If it fits into this little category, then you say, okay, it's likely that this person has this XYZ, right? Any math people? Ah, there we go. Math people. What are we? 2 plus 2 is 4. What do we use? Wait, hold on a second. My daughter was looking at some math. Her friend was looking at some math the other day, and it looked something like this. Some crazy numbers that went on forever. And then they had the nerve to have a line on the bottom and some more numbers down here. Can you believe this? Okay. So what do we use? What do we use to sort of to begin to solve this? A formula, right? So for all these different things, right? We had a formula, we got a recipe, right? But we don't really have that sort of same framework for how we engage in the process of critical thinking. You with me? So along come these people called Paul an elder. And what they do is they kind of give us they introduce us to what's called this critical thinking model. And what they say is that we have to begin with the premise. We just have to take it as a given, that we're kind of biased, okay? We are. We come with some bias, right? Sometimes our thinking is a little distorted. It's not really based in reality, right? We make some assumptions, okay? We turn into some different parts of the body, all right? sometimes we can be a little bit uninformed, okay? And then sometimes we can just be downright prejudiced. You with me? And so the idea is that we need some sort of model, some sort of formula that's going to hold us accountable and pull us in the reins, okay? All right, have I lost anybody? You guys okay with me yet? Okay. All right, so I'm going to skip that. And so what they say is that here are the qualities of a critical thinker. And we've been to some of these things. So a critical thinker is going to raise vital questions and problems and formulate them clearly and precisely. A critical thinker is going to gather and assess relevant information. Do you see how we have now, we have some adjectives that were put on some of these things that we've put over here? Because even if I say critical thinking means I have to question, okay, well what if we're talking about why the school has a no smoking policy on campus, right? With me? That's the subject of the conversation, okay? And we want to engage in some critical dialogue and conversation about this topic, right? And then I say, well, you know, there's a no dry towel policy. I wonder why there's that. Why can we use dry towels, you know, instead of using those automated machines that they didn't even dry your hands all the way? I'm questioning. Yeah, right? I'm questioning. But is my questioning relevant to the particular? No. Okay. Right? It was totally outside the box. Don't talk about the damn box now. All right, but do you see how we're trying to gather some language and some precision here, okay? So it's not that we're going to be questioning for the sake of questioning. Because you ever see people debate, people just want to talk and they hear themselves talk, right? And they're saying a whole, well, you hear a lot. But they're not saying a lot, right? So the question becomes, okay, we're talking about critical thinking. It's not just questioning for the sake of questioning, but we want to ask relevant questions, okay? Using abstract ideas to interpret it effectively. A critical thinker is going to come to well-reasoned conclusions and solutions, testing them against relevant criteria and standard, okay? So we can reach a lot of conclusions, right? We can, but it doesn't mean that those conclusions follow from our initial questioning or the analysis that we did. And so when we start to look at our case law and start to look at the court opinions, what we're doing is analyzing, okay, well, what was the issue that was before the court? Did the party raise an appropriate issue? Was the law that they were relying on, was it relevant, right? The court's analysis, does it follow from the law that they were citing? And does the conclusion then follow from the analysis that they did in the opinion? And sometimes we're going to think no. but hopefully they're going to be in the right direction and we're going to agree. Open-mindedly, so again, we're talking about the values of critical thinker. Thinks open-mindedly within alternative systems of thought. Let's just pause right there. Alternative systems of thought. What do you think that means?
Were you thinking that trying to think what someone else might?
All right. What else?
I think setting aside your own way that you would normally do it.
Yes.
And do it a different way.
Okay.
And challenge that.
All right.
Line it up against your own.
Okay. Remember when we did our introductions, right? We had a shoe person, we had a reptile person, we got a math person over here, we got an accounting background over here, right? We got all these different perspectives, right? All these different angles that might give us a different way of viewing that's going to perhaps mediate to some extent how we approach that particular question, right? So alternative systems of thought. Recognizing and accessing as need be their assumptions. So assumptions, implications, and practical consequences. What's an assumption? Well, we know, yeah. So isn't it? But let's. is an assumption the same thing as an implication?
No.
No. What's the difference?
An assumption is what you think, and an implication can be what it is.
Okay. What do you think? I like where you're going, and I like the distinction you're trying to make. Anybody want to help out? Yes, ma'am.
I kind of think it's the same thing because implication isn't that like implying something, and then assumption is like assuming something. So you're still kind of taking your own thinking instead of giving facts.
Okay. Yeah.
You can make an assumption based on your own way of thinking, your own experience, but implication usually like the facts in the case or something might imply something.
All right. Everybody agree with that? You see the subtle difference there? Because an assumption, I can make it based upon thought, right? I can make it based upon a whim, right? I can make it based upon nothing. I get an assumption. I have no information. My mouth just opened and just stuff just started flowing out. Okay? All right. Okay. But conversely though, an implication though, not to necessarily say that the implication drawn is going to be 100%, right? But an implication, however, implies that we had some pieces of information, some facts that we were relying upon, from which we could imply certain things, right? But again, we're going to go back and ask the question: is that something that we can reasonably imply? Is that a reasonable implication? Okay, is that a reasonable effect that we can presume from that? Okay. Communicates effectively with others in figuring out solutions to complex problems. Communication important to critical thinking? Yep. Yeah. What about the law? In the law? Yeah. Let me tell you. So I shared this story this morning. How I watched a person on a bench warrant add-on calendar go to jail, even though he had proof that the reason why he missed his court hearing was because he was doing community service hours. He actually had physical documentation. Here it is. And the court nonetheless took him into custody. You're not going home today, sir. At least not without posting this $1,500 bail. And what I wondered about is, was it really that he needed an attorney? I thought I knew for certain if he had an attorney, he likely would not have gone, right? But then the other part of it raises that, gosh, if only he had been equipped with some communication skills so that he could have more clearly and persuasively articulated his position to the court. You with me? All right, let's keep going. All right. So we got these ideas about what a critical thinker does, right? So now, well, how do I become a critical? Don't y'all want to be critical thinkers? Don't you like all that, right? Be a critical. Raise your hand right now. You want to be a critical thinker? You guys do not look. I don't believe you. That was so unenthusiastic. I mean, really, you're not going to convince anybody. All right. So what Paul and I do is they say the critical thinkers routinely apply the intellectual standards to what we're going to call elements of reasoning. I'm not going to go into all the elements of reason, but what I want to do is I want to talk about the intellectual standards, okay? And what they are there's some standards, some guidelines in terms of how I want you to think about your thinking process, all right? And what sort of questions I want you to be raising about yourselves when you're reading these materials, okay, and trying to engage in this critical thinking and reading and analyzing process. So the first thing we have is this idea of clarity. Clarity. So the idea of elaboration, giving an example or an illustration, that's going to further help you be able to clarify the point that you're trying to make. If I said to you, I'm going to erase this now. So the statement that I've just written here says, TCC prohibits the consumption of alcoholic beverages on campus.
So you can drink before you come to class?
So if we're trying to flush this out, right, and we're engaged in this sort of critical thinking process, and we say, okay, well, wait a minute, let's look at one of these standards. Can I be more clear? Can I give an illustration? Can I look for some case law that's going to help me further illustrate what this legal principle means, or what this rule means? We okay with that? All right, let's go. Accuracy. How can we check on that? How can we find out if this statement that we're saying is true? Or how can we verify it? Is that important to critical thinking? Yeah. Should we be able to actually check on the facts that we're presenting? Yeah. So I think that's a given. I think that's okay, right? Let's keep going. Precision. Specificity. More details. More exact. So you can see a nice little nexus between the precision and actually clarity too. Have I lost anyone? All right, we're going to come back to this. Relevance. How does that relate to the problem? So my example earlier about the discussion of the toilet, what was I talking about? I don't even remember. I don't remember because it wasn't relevant, right? So relevant questions, right? The question of relevance. This is going to be a big critical thing because when you do the exercises and you're given a fact pattern, and your tasked with analyzing that fact pattern, you want to make sure that you're relying upon a relevant source of law, right? Or more importantly, when we talk about your case briefing assignments, one of the first things that we're going to talk about is the idea of you being able to articulate what we're going to refer to as the material facts of the case. And when we say material, we're going to be referring to what are the salient, immediately relevant facts that we need to understand in order to then begin to discuss what the issue was before the court. Okay? All right, let's keep going. Depth. What factors make this a difficult problem? What are some of the complexities of this question? Are there any factors here that make this a difficult question or a difficult situation right here? What is
maybe the age of consent?
Huh?
Maybe the age of consent. I mean, like you can, if you're over 21, they do that argument.
What if I need some Dayquil?
She said, what if I had some, so was it NyQuil? NyQuil. Yeah. Well, is NyQuil alcoholic beverage? It's not alcohol. But it has alcohol in it.
But it says beverage.
Beverage, okay. All right, what if it's a wine cooler? Is that alcoholic beverage?
Jello.
Said the nurse.
Really? Is that for the nurse? Did you guys hear the nurse say a Jello shot?
Do you know how many alcoholic poisonings come in because of that?
Okay. All right. So again, you want to. So we're talking about just sort of making sure we understand. Are there any other factors that we need to consider that actually complicates it, so that maybe what appeared to be initially simple could actually have a little bit of variety and depth to it. Okay, and that's what we want to be exploring. Rest. Other perspectives. We need to consider different points of view. Okay. Now here, this is more easily said than done, right? You're going to read some cases, and you're going to immediately, I'm telling you right now, you're going to immediately take somebody's side. You're going to be ride or die for the plaintiff, or you're going to be ride or die for the defendant. And there's going to be no line in between, okay? But I'm going to challenge you. Your task is going to be to articulate the perspective of the plaintiff wholly, with integrity, with legitimacy, with passion, with persuasion,
with authority, legal authority, and then I'm gonna ask you to turn right around and forget them and do the exact same thing for the other side. What's the point of that? And I'm gonna tell you, I'm not asking you, I'm not saying you gotta make it your belief system, okay? I'm not saying that you have to take it, say it, and say, this, okay, fine, this is my opinion, I gotta believe it. Okay, I got it. You don't have to do that. But what you do have to do, what critical thinking requires you to do, is you gotta own it, you gotta stand in it, and you gotta be able to present it and argue it as passionately as if you did in fact own it and believe it. That's what the law requires. That's what you're tasked to do. Because as well as you know your position, how much better do you need to know the position of your opponent? Right? Now, beyond those two perspectives, you're also going to be asked to look at different perspectives. So is there, beyond the immediate parties involved, is there an economic point of view? Is there a social point of view? Is there a public policy point of view? You with me? So I want you to take the same fact pattern, spin them on its head, and give me some different perspectives. And that's how we're engaging in this process of critical thinking. You okay? Let's do more. And then we come back to that, you guys mentioned this earlier, logic. When we do all that, is there logic here? Does this make sense? Is this rational? Okay, does this flow from the evidence? All right? And then we want to consider the idea of the significance. Well, is this a central idea for us to focus on? At the very end of your case brief, you're going to be asked, what's the significance of this case? What do we get from this case? What do we take away in terms of the legal concept or the legal principle that was at issue here? And then lastly, that idea of fairness. Do you see how, I'm gonna skip ahead here. I'm gonna talk about this idea of fairness in just a moment, okay? I'm gonna skip ahead here. The idea is that if you engage in this type of critical thinking process where you're actually conscious and you're thinking about, as you look at these cases, as you look at a set of facts, if you're thinking about, okay, am I asking relevant questions? Am I spinning it on its head and looking at it from different perspectives? Am I asking clear questions? Are these questions precise? Do they actually pertain to the issue at hand? If I'm engaged in this process, right, using those standards, then do you see how we can get to these traits here of the critical thinker? Do you see how that creates fair-mindedness? Do you see how that can create confidence in your reason or intellectual courage? How can it create courage?
When you're empowered with knowledge, you're courageous in how you feel.
That's right. And do you think it might be possible that in your exploration of a perspective that is different than the one that you initially thought or would have ever even contemplated, do you think it might be possible that upon looking at it from that side, you might actually say, you know what, perhaps I was premature? Or you might even be deeper and say, I was just flat out wrong. Do you see how that takes some intellectual courage and humility? And that's what we need in the legal field. You gotta have people who are willing to look at those set of facts. You gotta have a prosecutor who's willing to say, you know what? I charged this case. And at the time that I charged it, I don't think we asked all the right questions. We need to come back and revisit this and maybe make a different determination, right? We need a plaintiff's counsel in our civil case to say, you know what, I'm really, really sorry, ma'am. This was very tragic. But I'm looking at all of the relevant sources. I'm looking at all the relevant facts. I'm putting that bias and my emotion and my compassion for you aside, and we don't have a case. You with me? All right. Exciting? Yes. All right. Okay, so now, with that in mind, we got one more thing we're going to do. We're going to switch gears and talk about some legal terms. But that's your introduction to our critical thinking model. You all right? You tired yet?
Yes.
I know you're tired. It's been a long day. But let me just give you some terms though, okay? I just want to give you a few terms that I know you're going to see when you do the reading. And I don't want you to be caught off guard. So we have some variation here. Some of you are going to be like, oh, I know this, whatever. But that's great. But for those of us who are coming in the middle, in the beginning, I want to make sure you have this information, okay? All right. So for that, I'm going to turn this off. Oh, perfect. And then we're going to pull this up. All right, so we are in the land of civil law. If I were to construct a chart here, I'm going to put civil on this side, civil law, and then I'm going to put criminal on this side. What's the distinction here? Give me some things about criminal law and civil law. Yes, John?
Criminal law is like against the state.
Is against the state?
Yeah, or the government or something. Yeah.
The state.
Civil law would be more like criminal law is if you get in trouble with the state.
Okay,
right.
okay, all right. So I get what you did. So in criminal law, basically, the state is going to be the plaintiff, and the idea is that the community is the victim. Okay, that's what you're saying,
Yeah,
right?
that's right.
I'm brain.
Mine now.
All right, what else?
Criminal law involves loss of liberty, civil involves money.
Loss of liberty? For who?
The defendant.
Yeah, for the defendant, okay. So let's potential loss of liberty. All right, and then civil law, we were money.
Civil law also pertains to family and children.
What, ma'am?
Civil law pertains a lot to family and children.
Okay, so family and children. Okay. But I'm going to venture to say that we got that same issue over here though too, right?
Yep.
Let's put that over here too, okay? All right, what else?
I just think of RCW Title IV when I think of civil law.
You just think of RCW.
Title IV.
Why?
Because it's all I don't know, that's what I would look up. That's all civil law.
Okay. But if we were to so if I could ask you, you got a phone?
Yeah.
Got an iPad? Got a tablet? Got a laptop? I'm just kidding. So look at RCW4 and give us some substance. Give us some meat to grab on in terms of why you want to put up. In terms of why else we're going to put that on there.
Because Title IV RCW is civil procedure.
Right, but why are we going to put it under civil law though?
If I mean, I wouldn't be if I.
In terms of drawing a distinction between civil law and criminal law. Let's come back to it. So we're looking at, if we were talking about what's the difference between civil law and what's the difference between criminal law? Because in both, we're going to have a procedure, right? The procedure is going to be different, but we still have procedure, right? That's why you got a class called criminal procedure. Civil procedure. I love them both. They're pretty awesome. Okay, I digress. All right, so difference between civil and criminal.
In criminal, you really talk about innocent and guilty, and innocent
Yes.
until proven guilty.
Oh, that's a great one.
I told her to say that.
So we have this idea of the presumption of innocence. Do we have that over here?
No.
No. And along with this idea of the presumption of innocence, what is that other thing that we have? Everybody, even your 5-year-olds know. You ask them if they did something, they'd be like, what?
No.
And what do? They say, I plead what? Exactly.
Nobody did it.
All right, so and what's that Fifth Amendment?
Self-incrimination.
Right against self-incrimination. Do we have that over here?
No.
It's fascinating, right? All right, what else?
You have to do it beyond a reasonable doubt.
Oh, yes, that's a good one. All right. She said beyond reasonable. What do we mean when we say beyond a reasonable doubt? What does that refer to?
You weren't there, you didn't actually see it, but all the evidence points that that's what occurred. There's always going to be a doubt.
There's always going to be. I like that. There's always going to be a doubt. So we're looking for a reasonable doubt. But what does this phrase? What's this? What do we call this? This standard here. What is this going to be? Who said it? Speaking loud. Burden of proof, right? So this is referred to as a burden of proof. And what that means is, this is the evidentiary standard by which we have to prove the case. We okay with that? The evidentiary standard by which we have to prove the case. I am so tempted for our next class to move the tables over there so that I can use that as a board. Because I told you, you were thinking about that too? All right, so over here, criminal law, we got the standard right here. It's over here. You like my better way? What's over here? Burden of proof.
Clear, cogent, and
all right, that's one of them. Clear, cogent, and convincing. Okay. What's our more typical burden of proof, though, in our civil cases? Anybody know? PP? Preponderance of the evidence, yes.
I'm gonna get a megaphone for her.
Now, which standard is higher, preponderance of the evidence or clear, cogent, and convincing? So over here, this is the higher standard, but you're right, the highest is going to be that criminal burden over there beyond reasonable doubt. We okay with that one? All right, what's another distinction between civil and criminal law?
Speedy trial.
That's right, yes, we got this thing called speedy trial over here. And what's that thing about speedy trial?
They can have one and they can waive their right to a speedy trial.
That's true, yeah. So the speedy trial thing is in criminal cases, right? This is a time frame by which your case, after it's been filed, has to reach some sort of adjudication, whether it's going to be the starting of the trial or some sort of disposition, a plea, or a dismissal, right? So if we're in custody, it's 60 days. If we're out of custody, 90 days. All right? Do a speedy trial over here? No. If we do it just doesn't work. Civil cases can take anywhere from a year to 2 years. I've seen some of them take 5 years. So it would blow speedy trial out of the water, right? Okay, so what else? What now?
Right to an attorney.
Oh, yes, that's a good one. Right to counsel? Now, generally, in civil cases, you don't have the right to counsel. However, there are some cases where you do have the right to counsel in certain types of matters, right? So can anyone think of an example?
If you're in the military and you're gone.
Okay, but what now, ma'am?
If you're in the military and you're gone and you need counsel, if you can't be present, and they're served while they're away, or somebody
okay, all right.
starts an action.
All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to put the military over here. And we're going to call the military its own beast. You know, right? Okay. But what are the type of cases where we might have, where we're in
have to do a dollar amount? I mean, it's civil, small claims court, you can't have a lawyer, but if you're suing someone for whatever, over 10 grand or something, I mean, you have the right to have an attorney representing in that litigation, right?
Yeah, if I can.
Yeah.
Or they want to do it for free. Yeah. But you're onto something, right? So there are certain areas where we have the right to have counsel if we want to hire, right? We don't have that right in small claims court. Small claims court is like your matter is small, you don't get to come to court with an attorney, we're gonna work it out, right? You're just a judge, okay? Having said that though, there are certain areas of civil law where if you cannot afford an attorney, the issue is simply of the magnitude that we say, you know what? You're entitled to counsel. You need counsel.
That'd be children.
That's right. Dependencies, exactly. Everybody okay with that? Does that make sense? Because what's at stake in a dependency? A parent's getting ready to lose their rights, perhaps, right? Or even a child in that sense be disconnected from their family. Okay? All right. So dependency. Okay. So another distinction between civil and criminal law. So over here with criminal law, we said that usually we're talking about the state as being the plaintiff, right? And then the victim is usually the community. Who are the parties over here? Private citizens. Very good.
We do mediation and arbitration in civil law.
Ah, here we go. Got some mediation, got some arb.
Immigration.
Immigration. Immigration could be under both of these. Yeah. What's another distinction in terms of civil law and criminal law? Yes? Ah, very good. All right, we're gonna have this. That's a great question. We're gonna have them in both though. Okay? So over here, we're gonna call it limitations of actions. And over here, we just stick with the SOL, statute of limitations. But we have them in both arenas. Thank you. All right. So I think this is pretty significant here. Fifth Amendment, right against, there's something else over here though, and it kind of relates to this Fifth Amendment thing.
So where a spouse can't testify against.
Not quite.
Maybe you don't have to testify. You don't have to testify.
So we kind of got that. We got the right against self-incrimination. We got that. It's that thing about the hearsay stuff and that confrontation thing about having to bring the witnesses. That's right. Confrontation clause. Anybody know what the confrontation clause is? This is the right of the defendant to confront their accuser. Doesn't mean literally, oh, you accuse me? No, that's not that. But it's the idea that the defendant is entitled, constitutionally entitled, to have the person who is accusing them or providing testimony against them to testify in court. Absent that testimony being offered in court, it doesn't get to come in, right? Over here, in the civil law land, where we do operate by the rules of civil procedure, we got this lovely thing called depositions, out of court testimony. Transcript gets to come in. Criminal world, never going to happen. Rare exceptional circumstances. Okay? Another big difference between civil and criminal law. We okay with this? All right, let's do some more terms. I'm going to erase. As soon as I find the eraser. So that confrontation thing is so it's so monumental. I'll give you an example. I was at a conference on Saturday, and the last presentation, you know how like you get a long day conference and you're tired, it's like 3 o'clock, you're like, God, I hope they end up early so we can get up out of here. Plus it was all the way in Centralia. It's at the Great Wolf Lodge, but I was about to get in the water park. I'm just saying. And so, but the last presentation of the day was by this organization called Courthouse Dogs. Have you guys heard of this? So what they do is they train dogs to, they're now, and they're very clear about saying they're not service dogs, they're not therapy dogs, and you cannot call them advocacy dogs. But what they are dogs that they use to assist victims of violent crimes. And so they'll bring them into the forensic interview, and they'll just sort of leave out, and they'll let the victim be in the room with the dog. And she showed these incredibly powerful silent video clips of like where this child had been, well, not the clip of the incident, but basically this particular victim had been sexually assaulted by multiple individuals, and they could not get her to talk. And so they left the room, and the dog was in the room, and she walked over and she just started to pet the dog. And then she laid on him, and then she started to pour her soul out. And oh my God, it was just the most powerful thing. And in the end, she got up and she got this heavy sigh, and she said, "You're such a great friend. I've told you more than I've told anybody." It was just incredible. And so anyway, the relationship here is that these children victims have to testify because of this confrontation clause. It's heartbreaking, right? To imagine like an 8 or 9-year-old victim having to come to court, get on a stand before a judge, 12, 14 jurors, and tell this horrific story. And so what they've done is started to establish some case law that lets these dogs come into court outside of the presence of the jury. You tell the jury that the dog is present, but you don't tell them where. And the dog sits with the victim witness on the stand, and they just get to pet the dog while they give their testimony. It was so incredible. But it's another thing that's going to make you really understand the critical difference between criminal and civil law. Because over here, that right is so powerful that even when it comes to child victims, we're like, you still got to come to court and testify because they have that right to confront.
Well, most of the people I've worked with, they wanted to represent themselves, and then they're the, directly talking to their victim.
Yeah,
and it's very intimidating.
It is. All right. Okay. So some more terms. In our civil arena, the party who is bringing the cause of action is going to be referred to as the plaintiff. So this is the party who brings the cause of action. Can you guys read my handwriting up here? Okay. Now the plaintiff also bears the burden of proof. Very good. The defendant, or sometimes we're referred to as the respondent, okay? Prior to responding. Okay with that? Cause of action. What's the cause of action? Or sometimes you'll hear claim. This is simply the legal principle or theory under which the person is bringing their case. So for example, it could be negligence. It could be employment discrimination. Okay, does that make sense? So this is just what are they alleging? It's a legal theory, legal principle. Okay. Then we have elements. These elements are going to be the pieces of information what we have to prove under that claim. All right. So if you were with me this morning, we talked about the idea of negligence, and for example, the elements of negligence are duty, breach of duty, proximate cause, damages, right? So each particular cause of action is going to have, set forth by case, some sort of statute or some sort of case law, the elements that you have to prove, okay? And you have to prove each and every component, each and every element. Unless, this is why language is so critical and key in the law, right? Because what we're gonna see in the statutes is this and, right? Or the little, whatever, right, and then and. But if it said or, you don't pay attention to that. We have to prove this, 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 and then this or that. Okay? All right. Standard of review. When you read these cases in your text, you'll hear the court say, the standard of review for this issue is XYZ, right? Anyone know what we mean when we say standard of review? Okay. All right, so we're going to talk more about this next week. But here's a magical little triangle, right? Let's say, let's kind of fill this. Let's see what we know. We know some stuff here. I want you to trust yourselves, right? Let's say this is our state court triangle. Sorry, state court system. What's on the very bottom here?
Municipal.
Oh, right. All right, municipal court. Now, municipal courts are situated within cities, right? So you have, for example, Seattle Municipal Court. Who else has a municipal court? Auburn used to have a municipal court, but they got too big, so they don't have one anymore. Des Moines Municipal Court, SeaTac Municipal Court, with me? Because they have to have you cannot have a population more than 50,000, all right? We okay with that? All right, what's the next level court? District court, very good. Now, district court is interesting because what's housed in district court? We spoke about it earlier. You can't have attorneys there. Small claims court. I'm going to put a little box here that says small claims, okay? All right. Now, what's above district court?
Superior.
Superior court. Very good. All right. Now, what's above superior court?
Court of Appeals.
So remember, we're talking about just our state court system.
Court of Appeals.
Court of Appeals. Very good. Court of Appeals. And then what's at the very top here? What? Huh? Adjective, please. Washington State Supreme Court? Oh. Okay. All right. Make sense? Okay. So when we look at this next week, what we're going to start to fill in is jurisdictional things here, okay? So each of these courts have a scope of authority to hear certain types of cases, all right? And we're gonna call that their scope of jurisdiction, okay? We're gonna say that municipal court and district court are courts of, very good, limited jurisdiction. We're gonna say that superior court is a court of, speak it, be confident. I see, I told you, trust what you know. General jurisdiction, okay? And we're gonna say that because it can hear any type of case. Have I lost anyone? Is everybody okay with this? Any objections? No? Not yet, okay, all right. So, now we were talking, so I gave you this sort of loose thing here so we can talk about the idea of the standard of review, right? Okay. So let's say we start off in superior court. It's a car accident case. Courtney ran into my car. I'm suing her. I don't care that she's a student at TCC. I'm suing her. I want my money. She damaged my car. Okay? All right. I lose. That flippant judge, I don't know what he was doing. That jury, I don't know what went on. Anyway, I lost my case. So what do I want to do? I want to appeal. Now, what should I have done? I should have preserved my objections. That's right, okay? Because now when I go to the Court of Appeals, do I get to have my trial all over again? Why not? It's an appeal.
Just review your case, the court, the trial that you already had.
That's right. I don't get to introduce anything new. They're just going to look at the record below, the transcript below. And they're going to see if the court did do as I'm alleging, make any error. With me? Have I lost anyone? All right. And so the idea of the standard of review is basically what is the level of deference, if any at all, this reviewing court is going to give to this lower court's determination. We okay? All right. So we have different standards. We have, for example, you hear abuse of discretion. We have de novo. We have harmless error and manifest injustice.
So just for my own
Yes,
clarity,
ma'am. I'm going to come back to these. Yes, ma'am.
If there had been objections,
yeah,
that's when you're allowed to introduce new evidence based on those objections?
Oh, I think that's a great question. But no. So what happened? No, but it's a great question. So the idea of the objection, right? So I say, let's see. Maybe what happened was the other side was introducing some records, and I don't think that they laid a proper business record foundation for that, and I object. And I say, Your Honor, I don't believe the proper foundation has been made for opposing counsel to admit these records. The court says, overruled. Right? But I made my objection. I preserved it, right? So I lose my trial, okay? On appeal, I get to re-raise that issue because I preserved it. I don't get to reintroduce any evidence, but I get to argue the merits of the same issue. It was error for the court to admit those records because of X, Y, Z, and that I put in my supporting my relevant legal authority, right? Critical thinking stuff, right? And then the court was going to read the record, look at the case law, look at my briefing, look at opposing counsel's briefing, and then they're going to issue an opinion. But I don't generally get to introduce new evidence. Okay? Now, there are some instances where I can do that, but that's kind of like a civil procedure 2 question. So for the most part, you want to just think that generally, no, you don't get to introduce new evidence. Yes?
What's the word under abuse of discretion?
De novo. De novo. Okay, so yes, let's finish talking about this. All right. I never got my drink. My mouth is so dry. Okay. But you guys all right? We're okay? All right. So let's say it's 8:08. We go to 9. You guys, 8:35? Good? Yes, yes?
No objection.
No objection. Okay, here, no objection. All right. So, de novo. Let's start with this because this is the easiest one. De novo basically means no deference. It's fresh look. The court is going to take a fresh look at the case. It's not going to give any deference below. It's not going to say, oh, trial court, because you were in a better position to observe this information, we're going to kind of give some sort of deference to you. We're going to look with an eye towards supporting what you say. No, that's not, that de novo says no. We look at it freshly. We pretend that we're looking at we're doing the trial, we're reading the trial, and we're going to make an independent determination. De novo, fresh review. Okay with that?
And that happens in all.
No. But that's a great question. It's going to depend upon what the issue is. The issue is going to determine what the standard of review is. Okay? So for all of these, it's going to depend upon what the issue is and what the case law says the standard of review is. Because sometimes counsel can have an argument about that. Okay? All right. So are we okay with the idea of de novo review?
How would you say that? Like, so the court is not going to look at this case on de novo?
So fresh review. Yes, and exactly. The court's going to, and you're right, that's exactly the language you would use. The court would look at this on a de novo review. They would use a de novo standard. Your Honor, the standard review is de novo for this case, or this issue. You okay? Then there is abuse of discretion. Abuse of discretion, what do you think that means? Do you think just by the language itself, do you think we'll kind of give a little bit of deference to the court below? Yeah, think about it. Because what you're saying here is, well, the court had discretion to rule in this way. So did they abuse their discretion?
It has something to do with like if the case would have been different or something. maybe I'm going off somewhere.
So that's we talk about that a little bit more so under manifest injustice a little bit, right? But under the abuse of discretion, we really are kind of deferring to the lower court. And we're saying, okay, we're really saying the court had the power to go either way on this issue. They were what we're going to refer to as the trier of fact, meaning they had the case, they saw the witnesses, or they heard the testimony, or they heard whatever the motion is, and they had the power. So did they abuse the power that they had? It's going to be pretty tough to show sometimes that the court abused its discretion.
The court that almost always finds a certain way in certain kind of cases, if they always lean towards a different side, all the outcomes by a particular judge is always, they always go for the plaintiff, no matter what, even if the case is different or.
That doesn't necessarily mean that the court abused its discretion now. You know what I mean? We okay with that? And don't worry, I'm just
an example of the court abusing its discretion.
Oh, let's see. Oh, okay, let's see. Here's an example. And this is actually a true case. So this guy, it's a criminal case, and the defendant had fired 3 of his previous counsel, and on the day of trial, he wanted to hire new counsel. The case had been going on for a lengthy period of time, and the court denied his motion. And they said, no, you're going to trial. You've had 3 attorneys. They were all court-appointed counsel. There were really no legitimate issues that you had with either of these counsel, but we entertained your motion. We allowed you to dismiss them and obtain new counsel. Now here it is, the day of trial. You want to, again, delay this proceeding. The state has witnesses that have been continuously delayed. No, today is trial day. That's literally what the court said. And so he went to trial. He lost, got convicted, and then he appealed, and one of his issues was the court abused its discretion in denying his motion for a continuance and giving him new counsel. Make sense?
Did he have to say that in court to get that on the record?
Well, he had to, the mere fact that he made his motion.
You can't just sit there mad, you have to say it.
Yeah, but the mere fact that he made his motion is denied, right? That helps. Yeah. Everybody okay with that example? So the court clearly has the power to go either way on that. They're in the best situation. They kind of knew all that context, whatever. Of course, says, no, this is not an abuse of discretion here. Okay? All right, let's see here. I'm going to reserve these because there's 2 particular cases that we are going to come to in the reading about these, but I just want you to note these as being 2 other types of standards of review. But you get the general idea that the standard of review is the level of deference that the reviewing court is going to give to the determination below. Okay? All right, and it's just going to vary by the issue itself. Okay. All right, let's see. More terms. You are going to hear, you're going to see the term summary judgment. You like that, huh? No. Summary. Oops, I think so. Summary judgment. Anybody ever heard this phrase before? Motion for summary judgment? No? No? Yes, you have. I'm nosy. I have. But it's late. So I'm gonna give you a break.
I've been served a summary judgment.
Ah, okay. You don't reveal it to the substance.
Oh, I don't really care.
But what about the nature of the motion itself? Did you understand what the nature of the motion was?
I mean, I had to do a lot of looking up of things. It's very confusing, but pretty much it's like they already won.
Yeah.
If they're granted a summary judgment, they've already won, pretty much. There's enough evidence that proves that they get their money or whatever it is.
Okay. So if the court grants their summary judgment, yes. Okay. But you're pretty much on the right path. So
summary judgment, you don't have to be present.
What now?
You don't have to be present to have a summary judgment. Right? You don't get to get up and give your case.
It's purely a motion. All right, so I don't want to confuse people. All right, so a summary judgment in civil law, civil practice, it is as natural as breathing. That's how common this motion is, okay? And basically, what it argues is that the moving party, who's the moving party? The party who's making the motion. So it could be the plaintiff or it could be the defendant, all right? So the moving party, let me pause and write. The moving party, and then in your own notes, make a note. It could be the plaintiff or defendant is entitled to a judgment in his favor. Okay, people, give me her too, okay? In his favor, as a matter of law. Don't worry, I'm going to tell you what this means. I'll give you the definition first, we're going to talk more about it, okay? So, the moving party, it could be the plaintiff or the defendant, is entitled to a judgment in his favor as a matter of law. And it's because there are no genuine issues of material, that critical thinking stuff, material facts in dispute. A moving party should prevail. Or excuse me, moving party would prevail at trial. Okay. That makes sense?
Well, I've heard somebody talk about this, and
very
I was
nice.
like, whatever.
Okay, so now let me break this down a little bit and let me give you an example, okay? So the moving party, we already explained that. The moving party is simply the party who's bringing the motion, okay? Judgment in their favor, so meaning that they're entitled to have this summary judgment motion granted. There are no genuine issues of material fact. So whatever has been alleged, right, either in the complaint or in the response, we're saying we take it as it is. We don't debate it. We don't dispute it. There's no argument whatsoever about it. Whatever you said, we agree with. With me? We don't dispute the facts. Okay?
So both parties don't dispute the facts.
The party who's bringing the motion doesn't dispute the facts. Okay? So let's take it this way. So let's say I'm the plaintiff. Okay? Hold it, you're the defendant, okay? I'm the plaintiff, all right? No, you're the plaintiff. Give me that. I'm the defendant, okay? All right, let's say it's a contract issue, all right? And you file a lawsuit against me alleging that I breached the contract, okay? That's just fancy language of saying I basically didn't do what I was supposed to do under the contract, okay? Instead of saying I didn't do what I was supposed to do, we say we breached the contract, right? Okay, so your allegation, your cause of action is breach of contract, right? I get your lawsuit. I go to court, be my attorney. You probably want to say no since I got your name wrong, right? Yeah. Okay. But I give you a lot of money. So okay. Oh, it's okay. You can call me that. That's true. Okay. So I go over here and I give her the plea, right? I give her the summons and the complaint. We're going to talk about that later on. But that's basically they told me that he was suing me, right? And I said, I'm being sued. Here's a contract. And she looks at it and she says, you know what? We're going to file a motion for summary judgment because the statute of limitations, remember that word earlier, is passed. He should have filed this lawsuit a year ago. With me? Okay? Yeah. So moving party, so I don't dispute anything. Yeah. I said, oh, it's a good thing because I didn't do what I was supposed to do in that contract. You say, oh, it's okay. We're not going to dispute any of what he said. We're just going to take it as a given. It's true. All right? But either way, not disputing that there are no issues of material fact and dispute, we still get to win. You still should prevail under law, as a matter of law, because the law says that this suit should have been brought a year ago. Does that make sense? That's your motion for zoning judgment.
Does it kind of like if you owe a bill and they sue you and they bring this up that you definitely owe, is it the same thing?
Well, it depends. Okay, so it's still. So my classic answer is what she asked is if you got a bill that you owe and they sue you, is it the same thing? What's my classic answer? What's my classic answer? It depends. It depends upon the facts and circumstances. It depends upon how old your bill is, what the notice is, what the statute of limitations is, which state you're in, whether or not you promise to pay after the statute of limitations, which I don't know why people do that, but they do. Okay? So it depends upon a lot of things. All right. Let's see here. I think I got one more term that I need to tell you about, and I have time. All right, so we talked about the statute of limitations, the summary judgment. Where's my pen? All right, when you read these opinions, I want you to make sure that you understand it's always the opinion of the court, okay? Now, it could be a majority court, right? But the justice does not really own the opinion. It really does become the opinion of the court. So when you first start to write about these cases, or you want to, or when you start to describe them in your case briefing assignments, I often see people go, Justice so-and-so opinion, right? That's okay if you're saying Justice so-and-so authored the opinion. But otherwise, you're just going to generally reference it as the court's opinion. In the court's opinion, they focus on whatever. Does that make sense? No. No, it doesn't?
I know all that.
No, it's okay. Let me use my own book here with my notes. So let's see here. Let's find a case.
So what you're saying is one justice didn't make that opinion.
That's right. So he authors that opinion in tandem with the court. Okay, I'm not finding a good example in here, but what I'll do is I'll post one and I'll just I'll highlight it so you can see what I'm talking about. But for the most part, when you look at an actual court opinion, before the analysis begins, you're going to see the name of a judge there, right? And all I want you to do is kind of ignore that and just focus on the court's opinion is X, Y, Z.
It's just a pronoun.
Exactly. You can have a majority opinion, meaning we had a court that was mostly primarily in agreement. If they're all in agreement, then we have what? A unanimous opinion, right? And then sometimes you'll see this right here, a dissenting opinion. What does that mean? This person did not agree. They dissented from the opinion, okay? And so the same thing there. You don't have to use a particular judge's name. You can, so-and-so dissented or the dissenting opinion, okay? You'll sometimes see concurring. What does this mean? So this basically means that justice, they are concurring with the majority opinion, but maybe they agree for different reasons. So they agree with the ultimate outcome, but maybe their analytical process was just a little bit different in terms of how they got there. Did I lose anyone? Yes, sir.
This might be a little out of scope, but what holds up in precedent, the majority opinion and the concurring opinion? How does that work if you're using the case later?
Well, here's the thing. I don't think you ever know at the time. Mm-hmm. Okay. So his question is, what kind of holds this precedent, right? So it really does depend upon the case, and what you'll find is sometimes people will say, well, this case only stands for the narrow opinion of XYZ, even though there was a lot going on in there. You with me? And many times, the reason why that's a complicated question to kind of answer is because many times one case, we might pick it, there might be this one particular issue, right, that all the dialogue was about, but there are a whole bunch of other things that the court also addressed, so that same court can stand for other issues as well. You follow me? So for this, so that opinion, the concurring opinion might reference a smaller issue that the court addressed, and for me, in my case later on, maybe that might become some precedent for something later. Although that was not the central issue that was before the court. Does that make sense? Yeah. So the bottom line is just really going to vary by the case itself. Is that okay? Any questions?
Curious about the dissenting opinion.
Yeah.
Would you ever appeal to a dissenting opinion? And why would you? I mean, why is it there if it's not something you can appeal to?
Would you ever appeal to a dissenting opinion?
Wouldn't hold if the majority, or would it?
You could have potentially two different cases where in the one case the dissenting opinion was actually a majority opinion because of a totally different case, and in this case it's dissenting, and so then you're comparing potentially.
I think you always, I think what's very interesting about this, if you look at a particular issue, let's say if we were to look at, for example, the historical evolution of case law on same-sex marriage, right? What you see when you go back and look at the dissenting opinions is that now, in those cases that are now coming out saying no, these parties do have the right to marry, the language that's used in the majority opinion is the very same language that was used in the dissenting opinions.
It's a record.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And so that's why that dissenting opinion, I'm not dismissing it, we're just saying that it's just a dissenting opinion, but you never know in the moment the historical value that that's going to bring to cases.
Because you can use it later.
Because you can, you can always use it later. Yeah, Your Honor, while this was not the central issue in this case, I would note that in dissenting opinion, this justice, and sometimes we call it dicta. In the dicta of the dissenting opinion, the court noted that there might come a time when we have to address this issue. The time is now, you know? Okay. But yes, but in the moment you never kind of know. But I think the same-sex marriage, I think that's a great example of how you see the evolution of that. Okay, let's see.
Is there a split one, or is that just from TV? Like a split? Is there a split decision, or is that
you have lots of split decisions, and in fact the split decisions are the ones where you see a lot of this sort of, you'll have, your four here, your dissenting opinion, you have something occurring, they're all over the place. Yeah. So it's going to be very interesting to start to read these cases and see where you kind of start to line up and who you agree with. All right, let's see. I think that covers most of the terms that I wanted to introduce to you tonight. One other thing before we go, though. I do want you to have a discussion, talk to you about your first discussion post-assignment, okay? That's the one other thing. And then I'm going to let you go. I promise, I promise, I promise. All right, so when you go under assignment, and I will send you out a reminder. Just hold on a second. It wants to go home with Shirley too. Okay. All right, so if I can capture your attention for just about 3 to 5 additional minutes, I want to make sure I have an opportunity to explain to you your first discussion post-assignment, because it's going to be due before we return to class. Okay? All right, all right, so if you go and you look under, and I will send you a reminder, your first assignment is really just to get you to start thinking about civil law and how it's intricately related to just about everything you do, and to also tie in our discussion about critical thinking. Do not overcomplicate this assignment. It is meant purely as an introductory assignment. Don't find the 35-page article for this assignment. Okay, I'm just saying. All right, so let's go over the instructions really quickly, okay? Find an article that discusses any civil law issue. So we talked about employment law, we talked about negligence, a little bit about torts, right? All that kind of stuff. So anything that relates to any civil law issue. You're going to provide a summary of the article, as well as your reflections or opinions about the issues, how they were presented, and resolved according to the article, all right? Or how you might have hoped to see it resolved based upon your present understanding of the law. When summarizing your article, I want you to think about our discussion in class on critical thinking, and be sure to articulate some different perspectives. Okay, so the article that I was looking at was the potential breakup between Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt and what would happen to the kids. So that's a family law, civil law issue. Well, you can pick any article you want to. That's the article that I picked. Okay? So that's what my posting is going to be about. And so you need to cite the article. All right, talk about the area of civil law that it falls under, and it's family law, torts, or whatever, okay? Make it, oh my goodness. There's a huge bug on here. Do you guys see that?
It was right here.
Where did it go?
And you flipped the bug on me? I know it's our first day, but okay, but there's a huge
We could have lost it on the first day.
Okay, let's hurry up and finish this. I'm not going to flip it back up, because this thing is huge.
I thought it died and hit the wall.
Okay, so let's hurry. So discuss the article and whether or not it involves federal or state law. All right. Summary to include discussion of civil law issues, and again your reflection. Okay. Really, if you do this and you do this right, you read the article, you summarize it, you talk about whether or not it talks about state or federal law, you talk about the different perspectives that are offered in it, you're probably going to get to 300 words easily, okay? 300 words is like 2 paragraphs. I'm serious. Yeah. So that's the thing. So it's an introductory article. If you cannot quite get it, if you're like, I don't know what area of law this falls under, but I think it's civil law, that's okay. Make your best guess, and we're going to talk about these, okay? Any questions? So don't complicate it. Any article, and I don't mean a legal article, so don't go to some journal about legal stuff, whatever. You can pick up a newspaper. All right. You could even, and I put in the directions here that if you have something going on in your own life, you got a contract issue, then that could be something that you draw upon for your example. Okay. And talk about what sort of law that falls under and so forth. Okay. If you have questions, what are you going to do? Email. Thank you so much. Have a great evening. Drive home safely. I'll see you next week.
One out of 2.
You want me to dispose of this?
I don't know what do you got? No, I'm not. Yeah. Hold on, let me unplug this so nobody trips, okay?
I have a quick question about.
Let me stop this too.
I need